all to this workshop on the topic Project Writing for Grants and Research Paper Writing, where we have the privilege of learning from the immensely knowledgeable Dr. Krunal Soni sir. This event has been thoughtfully organized by the Research Foundation of India in collaboration with Shodh Malwa, Parul University, Gujarat, Eklavya University, JHRF, AIGA, and Edu Academic Inc. Before we begin this event, I'm honored to introduce the Research Foundation of India and shed light on its mission and operations. RFI is dedicated to social upliftment, enhancing higher education quality, and promoting Indian research globally. It organizes international and national conferences, seminars, workshops, and symposiums to integrate intellectual ideas and foster innovation. Committed to scholarly inquiry and the practical application of research, RFI collaborates with top Indian universities through MOUs. Its members include distinguished faculty, researchers, and professionals across various disciplines. With more than 100 chapters in India and about 50 chapters in other Asian countries, RFI has hosted over 1,000 international conferences worldwide, contributing significantly to academic excellence and research development. Notably, it operates without government financial sponsorship. Now, without any further delay, I am pleased to introduce our esteemed session expert, Dr. Krunal Soni sir. Sir is an associate professor of finance and accounting at the School of Management, GSFC University. He's having a total of 10 years of experience in academics and 2.5 years of industrial experience. His qualifications include a BBA and MBA in finance, Gujarat SET in management, a PhD in management, a diploma in foreign exchange and risk management, a postgraduate diploma in research and methodology, and a BCom. Sir is also having a total of 26 publications in various reputable journals like Scopus, ABDC, UGC CARE, Web of Science, etc., including a patent in Government of India. Sir has also received 3 Best Research Paper Awards in various international conferences. With this, I humbly invite Sir to take over the session. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, madam. Just confirm the screen sharing. I
Sir,
hope
it's
it is visible.
visible.
Thank you. So good evening all. On the first day of this faculty development program on, how to write a research proposal and for, getting a grant for the proposal. So, it is very, very important phase of every researcher and every faculty, to get the research work to be up to the level wherein it get recognized, and it get, approved by some of the research funding, So when research fundings, is approving your research work, it's itself saying that, your research works are having some fruitful outcome. Your research work is having some fruitful results. And that is where somehow the society have noted, or the experts, those who are working in this domain since long, they feel that your research has some glimpse, your research has some weightage, and that is where, they want to recognize your research and they want to benefit it from your research work, by providing some platforms to you in terms of providing the fundings. And through these fundings, we can have some fruitful outcomes, and that can be representable to the society, and ultimately the society as a whole will get the benefit out of this proposal. Clear? So that is where we have to discuss about this research proposal grant. And to get the grants, the process is not easy, although it is not difficult. But yes, when we are talking about the research grant, we must need to ensure that each and everything that we are doing it for the research grant, so that our research proposal has some weightage, our research proposal has some viewpoints which can be beneficial to the society, and the society would be at the beneficial point, right? So that is where our research proposal should have something to share, something to represent, and that is where the grants can be possible, and we can give a better justice to the proposal and better justice to the idea and innovation that we are planning for our research work can be justified. So that is what the blueprints and the base point that I wanted to discuss in this initial site, that how to write a research proposal for a research grant. So again, it is an art, to write a research proposal, because if I'm talking in terms of research proposal, so there are a lot many few parameters which I have to see to it. So these are the various content, which I have to talk and which I have to discuss about. The first is I need to understand the understanding of grant writing. So there is a difference, or there is a thin line of difference when we are talking about the normal research and when I'm talking about understanding the grant of research. So there are certain guidelines, there are certain formats, there are certain requirements which we have to fulfill as and when we are planning to apply for our research work for a grant. And according to that, every researcher has to draft their proposal in a manner that is expected from the agencies to whom you are targeting. Just like we are doing it in Scopus and ABDC journals, that we are we are drafting a research proposal, we are drafting a research paper according to the requirement of the journals, according to the needs of the journal, and according to we are drafting a grant. So according to that, we need to understand the writing patterns of the agencies. According to that, we need to plan our project, that how we need to execute the projects depending upon the criteria that has been provided by the research grant. According to that, we have to plan our project, that how we are going to execute, what are the different parameters that we need to take care as and when we are going for writing proposal. So we need to draft complete blueprints, just like we are drafting in research thesis. What is your plan out for the coming time period of 3 years and so on? So if you are getting a research grant for 1 year, so how you will execute this particular research project in the coming next year? So we need to plan out the entire activities, when to apply for the grant, how to activate those things, how to collect the data, how to find the research problems. So every activities we need to plan in a proper and accurate manner. Once we plan those things, we need to incorporate and we need to execute and we need to describe on a piece of paper, right? And this piece of paper is nothing but, it is called drafting a proposal. So we need to draft the proposal for all the activities that we have planned and we need to execute it. So that is where the proposal will come into picture. We need to draft complete proposal about each activities and things that we are going to do it, right? So that is called drafting a proposal. Then once the proposal has been drafted, actually we are applying for all this proposal for the ultimate purpose of getting the fundings, because ultimately research project is having ultimate target to get the fundings from the agencies. So we have to focus upon the financial parameters about all the activities that we are going to conduct in this research work. And according to that, we have to provide the financial budgets and financial expectations from the market. And once it is done, we need to have submissions and follow-ups. We need to take various submissions and follow-ups. So once we make a submissions, we might receive some modification, we might receive some experts comments, which is called your proposal got accepted, but with minor or major revisions, right? So that is where it is called submission and follow-up. So as and when any researcher will execute those changes in the proposal as per the comment received from the experts from that agencies, you need to make a changes, and again you have to resubmit it, and again you have to take a follow-up. Okay. So now, understanding the grant writing. So what is this concept of proposal and fundraising activities? So these two are different things. When we are talking about the proposal and fundraising, so proposal is initially we are submitting our blueprints, we are submitting our idea, and if those ideas turns up to the expectations of the experts, and if they feel that there is something in your research which can be beneficial to the society. They are ready to invest in your ideas, and they want to take out your ideas to the next level, wherein you can execute those things, and you will be awarded and you will be rewarded with the the fundings, either from the government organization or either it could be from private organization. Again, there are different bifurcation and demarcation of the various sorts of funding agencies, depending upon the schools and the stream in which we are depending. So according to that, it is going to be bifurcated and it is also going to be demarcated. But the purpose is to secure the financial supports for the projects or initiatives. The basic purpose of getting this proposal to be funded is whosoever wants to do the research, either they have the idea, but they are struggling with the funding's purpose, right? So even, this idea is overall beneficial to the society and not for the individual. So obviously no individual is ready to do the research and innovations by their own fundings. So obviously government and some agency has to take up those things, and they have to provide the funding. And obviously it is in their Companies Act that every company has to invest something amount in research and for the societal development, that is called CSR. So according to that, every company also have to invest, as per the government laws and norms. So either private and government organization come forward, and they will look forward for this kind of project initiatives, and they are ready to provide the fundings if your research proposal stand out to be expectations of them. And most importantly, they are also looking at the confidence of the researcher and the research problem that has been bring by the research, right? So based on that, majorly two things, you will be getting fundings based on this and others are not getting. And what is the importance of this fundraising activity? So it is written that grant writing plays a crucial role in fundraising, and it helps organizations to obtain the necessary fundings to sustain and grow their programs. Why grant writing program is running? Because sometimes organizations are also giving some task to the person, either from the organization or from the outside organization, and they're telling them that you research on this, you make a study on this part, and provide the necessary outcomes and suggestions out of this study for the betterment and for the development of this particular organization, program, or services in which they have been involved, right? So that they can improve their process, and ultimately they would be able to achieve and serve their mission that they have decided as a part of the growth and further progress aspects. So that is where the organization are also issuing some grants, because if they issued 2 lakh, 5 lakh rupees of grant, but if they are getting some innovative ideas, some innovative concepts from the researcher, and if they try to incorporate those things into their organization for the business and commercial perspective, so might be they will have the cutting edge benefits in the market which others don't have it. So that is where organizations are always motivating this kind of innovation and research. And that is why I told you in the beginning that if you are applying for any research projects grant, your idea should stood out to be practically and rationally correct. Then only you will be awarded with the research grant. Otherwise it would be not even a scope that your idea is going to be funded, right? So that is where, and there is no right and there is no wrong criteria for this. Organizations are always ready to provide the fundings based on the current scenario, right? So if your idea is matching with the current scenario, that is where it has been said in research that you always see the current scenario and concept and prospect and then decide your title, right? So that is why they are saying this kind of thing, because until and unless if your idea is not matching with the current scenario needs, priorities, then your idea is not having sustainability, right? And that is where it is going to be rejected. What type of grants? So we have already discussed. The grants have been provided by the two agencies. First is government grants. So if at all you are looking for the funding projects, so you can either approach to the government agencies in the respective areas and domains in which you are belonging. And these kind of agencies have been run by federal government, state government, and local government, right? So federal means state government, central government, state government, or any other local government organizations who can support this projects or initiatives as a part of research, right? And these research are basically, so see, if government is focusing upon any of the funding projects, so obviously government wants to improve the infrastructure, wants to improve some public facilities, right? So if you are providing some innovative solutions to the local bodies, state or central government for the betterment of the public and society and overall community development as a whole, so definitely government would like to invest in your research project. But you, most important aspect by obtaining any of the grant is you must have to convince to the authority. And to convince the authority, it is in the hands of researcher, right? So if you can convince in the right manner, and you must have to understand the scope of the research. And scope of the research has also relation with the agency that we are targeting for. Sometimes if you're targeting for some technical projects grant, and if you apply for the ICSSR, right? So ICSSR is majorly having a scope in social science. So although your idea is good, but you are approaching to the wrong body, wherein ICSSR has no relation with the technical background, suppose, right? So there is a huge chances that your project is going to be rejected. That doesn't mean that you don't know how to write a research project and research grant. But sometimes, right kind of approach, right kind of process, and right kind of follow will make our work to be more concrete. And that is what we have to do it, right? So that is what you have to do, that you have to see the government grants and research, and accordingly we have to follow up. Then next is private foundations. So what is private foundation? The simple answer to this question is the foundation which is not governmentally run, it is called private foundation. Who will run the private foundation? So simple, either individual, family, or corporate, right? Those who are belongs to private organization, they can always provide this kind of grants to charitable activities aligned with the designation mission. Sometimes private companies and organization also provides the research grant to examine and to innovate some innovative process or ideas that can be backed by the fundings, and that can be benefited to the society as a whole. So this kind of fundings is also provided, and this can be possible with the improvement of their projects and profit process, right? So that is where it is called designated missions. Corporate grants, so these are the financial contributors that have been made by companies to non-profit organization or projects intended to support community initiative, social responsibility programs, or to enhance corporate image. Clear? So this is called corporate grants, wherein the non-profit organization or any of the projects which supports the overall benefits to the community, right? So that is where it is going to be happen. Then we have to come to the next part, that is called, you need to plan your project. So once you have decided that what is grant and fundings, right, you need to plan your projects. So planning your project is having direct relation with the research problem. How we are deciding research problem in research paper? Can anybody have the answer? How to define research problem?
Literature. So, going through the literature review.
Perfect. You will go for literature review based on what? You might have something in your mind.
Yeah, so basically the research question or research problem that you have.
Right. So you might have the rough idea, in terms of the direction where you want to go for the research. And then you will see to it that how much research has happened, what are the outcomes has been derived, and which methods, which tools have been used, which sort of sample size has been utilized, with which techniques of the sample size collection, the research, responses has been collected. This study is either going for primary or secondary, So all this kind of, ideas that you are getting based on your literature review, right? Which is called systematic literature review. So this kind of literature review will always give you a glimpse of the things which has been performed. And then after going with the immense amount of, the scrutiny process, you will come to know that yes, previously, these are the criteria of the topic, rough topic I'm talking about, which I was thinking about to be the part of my research. These are the, innovations these are the outcomes and the findings has been derived. Then I'll try to see what else is prevailing into the market, wherein I can have my own innovation, my own observation, and my own findings that I can derive. And this is something unique which has not been done previously by any of the authors in the market. And to achieve those things, what are the, you know, cognitive thinking or cognitive, arguments that I have to put into the practice as a part of research paper drafting? This is called research problem, right? I hope it is clear.
Yeah.
Correct. And to fulfill those research problem, you must have to divide those research problems into multiple segments. And these segments is nothing but, depending upon the variability and data availability, you will segment those research problems into multiple objectives, right? Wherein you will try to fulfill the overall problems by having checking the multiple parameters. Let's say if I want to check the financial health of the organization, so I need to check the financial profit, I need to check the operational expenses, right? I also need to check the behavior of the shareholders, right, towards the organizations, right? I need to check the socio-demographic backgrounds of the managers or employees of that particular organization, right, to find out the reasons for having the success or failure of the organization. And to achieve those parameters, I need to segregate those parameters into multiple objectives, and by segregating those things, I need to derive and I need to define the various sort of objectives that I can portray to fulfill these objectives. Clear? Fine?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. So what happens is, if we are doing this, we are getting a direction, we are actually getting a direction where we want to go, and we are also getting an idea where is the scope of study, right? And that is where we can assess and track our progress, whether we are on the right track or not, because we have already compared with the various objectives of the previous authors. And based on that, we might have derived the basic research problem by considering the market situations and the problems and prospects. And according to that, we have clearly defined the objectives. And with those objectives, we can proceed further to see the progress of the projects. And that is where you must have to align the objectives with the funders' priorities. As I have already told you, if your research scope of study is not matching with the funders' priority, means the organization who wants to fund you, if it is not matching or it is not aligning with their expectation, it will be very less chances that you will get the fundings, right? So it is must be you must have to ensure that even you are submitting your research paper to the any research journals like Scopus ABDC, you must have to see the scope of the paper, you must have to see the scope of the journal, and we must have to check that these two scopes are aligning with each other. Then only we can proceed further for the submission and follow up. Otherwise, if they are deviating from their scope, then there would be highly chance that either if your paper in terms of scopus, so it got rejected, or even if you are going for the funding's priorities from the funding agencies, and if your research project is, although it is good, but it is not a priorities of the agencies to whom you are submitting your research proposal, so they'll not entertain. Because the reason for not entertaining is not because your work is not up to the mark, but your scope of study that you are trying to submit, it is not in the range or in the arena of the progress that they wanted to see for their organization after going through this practice of research proposal and execution of this proposal, right? So they will always see the scope of study, and that is where if it is going to match with your scope of study, then you always have the funding opportunities to receive from the funding organization, and that will always encourage to the researchers to do the research, because you always feel proud to be the part of the funding and research grant project?
Regarding this, I have a question. If
Right.
we if we keep the funders' intention in mind while presenting our proposal to them, but
Hmm.
don't you think that it will be biased? Like we'll be getting biased. We are losing the actual essence of our research topic. Like for example, if I am going to do research in some sort of disease, I'm doing a research in some hospital. Okay, so I identified some disease, and the funding agency want that we do a drug trial specific of their brand. So it will be a biased thing, you know. So how to ignore that bias part?
See, when you are going for funding things, funding organization are very clear. Even I'm saying this out of scope. They are also very specific in terms of the specific point of research, you know. So they will see the multiple proposal, right? I understand that, you have worked so much, so hard to draft and all this aspect. And genuine work people are always having that feeling that if your project is getting rejected at the minor corrections, so you'll always have a, very bad feelings in terms of this. But yes, see, for the decision of the funding agencies is not in hands of anyone, because they are not bounded to any person, right? So first of all, it is not in our hand that, I'm biased and all this. But I don't know a bias in terms of what, because to fund or not to fund, it completely depends upon their scope of study. Yeah, I understand in some of the government agencies, if this is happening, then it is kind of biased. But private organization peoples are very clear. They are not considering any arguments in this aspect. They are always looking for their better scope coverage as far as their organization facing a problem. And if any person is coming out with a better proposal to solve those problems, they are ready to fund. Yeah, but in government organizations, sometimes I do agree with you.
So in a way, the proposal will get rejected if though it do not get aligned with them. It doesn't matter that our topic is very good, but it will get rejected. You mean that?
Hmm. Yeah, so
Okay.
what can we do now? We have to approach to
But
other
our
agencies.
our intent is to get the grants, you know. So this I guess this still doesn't answer my question. So it is basically what I want to understand. Um, let's not say about hospital, it will be very critical topic, but in a general way I want to do a study which is qualitative in nature. It want to understand the behavior of people, or maybe quality of life getting changed after some sort of study in them. But um, but the funder is not interested into it. He want to do something very difficult or different, or he want to add his own inputs into my study, but I'm not interested. It's like my proposal has some own essence, has some own itself originality. But because of funders' interest, shall I change my topic or what? Look for some other person, because
Right.
private people will always have some intention. Like they'll see if they are giving money to us, then they'll have something in mind that yes, I am giving money, then my intention should be fulfilled. But my research says something else. In that scenario, how to convince a fund
See,
funding
madam,
agency?
my answer is very specific to this question. See that you must have to, follow the intentions of the funders, right? Because ultimately we are here to ask the funding from them, right? So what I feel it somehow, if I'm able to convince them, right? If I'm right, then I should be able to convince them. But somehow, if we feel that our idea and our proposal is on the right track, and if we don't want to miss out the opportunities to get the fundings, so obviously we must have to serve the intentions of the funders, right? If they are ready to provide you the funds, that's what I told you, no, accepted with minor revisions. So if they are asking for such kind of revisions, so before going to the revision, you must have to convince. But if the things are not turning out, you must have to accept their suggestions. But even this is an initial phases, right? If you accept their suggestion and during your work, right, you might have different multiple sort of meetings with them, at every interval of progress report. And in this progress report, you must have two plan of actions. This is one plan of actions of what they have suggested, and this is one plan of action that you wanted to do. And if in this kind of meetings, if you can able to convince, So might be your relation with them after so many meetings, 6 months, 1 year down the line, it would be quite improved, right? But at a moment, you must have to agree with them to go and proceed with the fundings if your idea is meeting their expectation and you are ready to work according to their expectations. I understand your understanding, your criteria, and your way out is more better than their suggestion. That is what you pursue. But again, if they are not convincing, you must have to accept it.
But if this process will lose the originality of our concept of doing the research.
Um, See, what I perceived is it is a matter that you are questioning by the person who is sitting to approve your research funding project. He might not be understanding the practicalities. And it might
So
be
you
possible.
mean we have to make them understand or make them familiar with our agenda very clearly so that they get convinced about it? Or
Correct.
in a situation, yeah, okay, understood. Got the point.
You have to convince them at the initial phase. If they are not convincing, you agree at the initial stage. Then later on, you must go and visit once. You try to convince them that, sir, this is one way and this is another way. You see the difference. So if your result and if your idea has some uniqueness, so who will not try to initiate this kind of things? But at a moment, sometimes it
But
might
saying it but calling it that we have to customize our study in a way that matches the funder's interest will, I guess, create that question that it can be a bias in terms of we are not justifying the intent. Research is basically very much dedicated thing that we start with. Okay. And we have our own something like the research problem or the research question that we think of in the initial phase, and we say, okay, we have a problem now, we want to do this. Okay, so
Hmm.
during that phase, we decide something very unique after doing the whole process, like the way you just listed down the steps, like doing the systematic review or going through all the literatures. After doing that much of hard work, now we are coming up with some thought that is not just a random idea, that is like gone through a whole process. Now, some funder says just because of money, I want your whole idea to be changed, or maybe essence of that idea to be changed. So that is not really justified. That is what bias I am talking about.
See, it is a call of researcher. Either you want to surrender with that opportunity, you can. So but you must have the second thought in your mind, or you must have the plan B, right? So if you are not agree with this point, then where you want to go, right? And where you will represent this particular project, wherein you will get a funding and you can uh, represent your innovative things of understanding of this particular project. So if you have your own way out, you can obviously go, and you should not approach this kind of agencies. But obviously, if you want to go for some agencies, so mutual concern, mutual work, and mutual understanding must be created. No person can go in a separate or individual way of working manner, right? So that is a hardcore fact of the reality. I can also understand that sometimes every person have a strong guts feelings that what I'm doing is has more privilege and more scope of further improvement. But what happens is everybody has their own understanding, and the person, please try to understand whenever you are going to represent your proposal for the acceptance to fund some funding agencies. So they are calling some experts from the various domains in which you are. So they are also having their ego matters. They are also considering themselves to be experts. So sometimes to create an argument at this stage will always create a negative outcomes for the for the applicants who is coming for the proposal, right? So it's our call that what we have to do it. But I do agree that sometimes it happens. I'm not denying it. But yes, if you want to go for it, we have to say yes. And if at all out of this there is another way out to propose and to put our research work into platform, that if you are getting some funding agencies, then you must publish some research papers in good journals with the idea that you have it in your mind, right? And you portray those ideas in front of your presentation at the time of whatever your review meetings or review calls are there. So if person are getting some output out of your results, definitely they will accept it. But today they are not accepting because they have not seen the results of your outcomes. So the moment they will test your results, right, they will definitely like if the if the test of your output is sweet, then they will definitely want to test. But if it is bitter,
But what
they,
about the first time researchers? For example, any student or any person is having a very great idea, and they are going to approach a funder, but they don't have any publication before, any research before, because of course, for reaching to that stage where your research or your review is published in the public domain, you somewhere have to go through the process of doing research in the initial phase. And for that, we of course need the grants, we need the funds. And so, in that situation, how to convince the funder?
in that situation, it is very difficult to get convinced. I think if you are at this stage, then I think what I feel is, because I also have some experience. So if you are at this stage where you don't have any good papers into quality journals, so they have some filtering criteria. So might be possibility that your research will not go into even the interaction stage, right? The moment you send your proposal, they will get rejected. Sometimes in a few cases might get accepted, but the chances are very less, because in the interview itself they are asking your research arena on this, whatever subject in which you are, but they are at least wanted to try and test about your research arena, because theoretical and fundamentally you are that much strong, but earlier you have not tried and done any of sort of research in the domain area where you want to apply for the fundings. So there would be a less chance that even you are getting a platforms to represent your idea as a part of selection
If
process.
if we won't get the chance or
Correct.
opportunity to present at the first place,
Perfect.
then how that second or third time will come? Like how I can go and approach to any other person? Like the way you said, you should have some researches in the public domain. You should have some uh, reviews or researches in the journals. How? Like initial phase is the this one only. Like even getting rejected at the first stage. So how to go to the that level? Initially it's getting rejected. That is the question.
Everywhere you want to go, there is a step by step things we have to proceed. So first of all, if you want to go for any Scopus journal, you must have a research knowledge. So research knowledge is not only suffice the purpose, but you have to have a quality research. So if you prove your quality of research in the domain, in the Scopus journal, 2, 3 Scopus papers that you have it, and then you are going for the funding projects, then there would be a chances of getting acceptance. Because please try to understand that whosoever agencies are going to be funded, they are also calling the expert from the same domain in which we are, right? And they are most experienced person. I might be having this strong feeling that they might be not having knowledge that you have it and they have it. But again, this is a qualitative aspect, right? Where no debate can win the race, either from your end or either from the expert end. But what we need to consider is we need to fulfill the basic criteria of the society which has been planned, to get into these practices. Otherwise, we always struggle. Not always, but sometimes till the time we are not having sufficient backgrounds to prove ourselves. The moment you prove it, and if you have a better idea and better prospects, and most importantly, skills, then nobody can stop you to go ahead. But before that, you have to start and you have to prove yourself on the basic ground and parameters. So that is a much needed things that we have to do. And if you are getting rejected from the next one funding, again, you will face the same problem without going with the basic foundations of the research that you need to create to apply and get the fundings from the agencies. Even I will not get the fundings from the agencies if I don't have my research background, or even I don't have some academic experience, or if I don't have some research experience to do research. And that is why they're asking for the background, because they are funding, so they cannot take a risk that any person is telling me that I'm good in research. I agree that that person can be good in research, but how to quantify that particular things, it is a qualitative matters. So quantification needs some facts and figures, and in terms of number of papers, number of things that need to be put onto their table. So then they have the confidence in your ideas, in your way out that you are planning to do it, and that's where they will get convinced. If your research problem and prospects are better to meet their expectations. So this is the basic way out that we have to proceed. Clear?
Clear, yeah.
Right.
We are good to go.
Hello, good
Right.
evening,
So
sir. Hello, good evening.
yes.
Sir, actually, I am from social sciences background. I am from mass communication.
Hmm.
So my question, rather, I have a query regarding the funding agency's intention about uh, giving or accepting kind of proposals. Because what we have find generally is that our research is not action-oriented research, where we have results, where we have research of any kind where we can find action on the ground. Therefore, we have largely qualitative methodology used in our uh, research papers and also funding. When we when we pitch our proposal for acceptance, it is generally found that it is not accepted because the kind of topic that we have are not generally accepted, and the kind of concern that we have are not translated on the ground, sir. So my question is simple, sir. We people from social sciences and humanities, when we pitch our proposal, it is generally not accepted, and the kind of subjects or topics that we find on their websites are not generally social sciences or humanities oriented subjects. So the problem is when we compare our field with fields from sciences and artificial intelligence and other branches of science, we find that our proposals are relatively weaker than the proposals prepared by them. So my simple query is, how can we make sure that our proposal is accepted, sir? Because fundamentally, if we see, our methodology is rarely found to be quantitative in nature. It is generally narrative sort of research. It is kind of
Okay, very good question and very valid
both.
question.
As you have, yes, sir. As you have rightly pointed out, that you have to have a kind of solid background before you actually pitch in for any kind of proposal, right? But the problem is, sir, what about us? We are young generation. We are still trying our level best to establish our foot in this research arena. But the problem is, we are enthusiastic, we are energetic, but fundamentally we have some vulnerabilities because of our field, actually. So how
Because
can we amplify and our presence over there, sir? Kindly shed light on it.
you are correct. You are very young and energetic, right? And you are correct. Sometimes your intelligence will not work. And that was the same question was, deployed by the previous participants, one madam, right? Now I wanted to ask, answer your question. So you are from social science, right? I'm also from social science.
Yes, sir.
So last year I had submitted one research proposal related to one government, kind of policies, or what I can say is government policy towards the farmers, right? In Rajasthan. Clear?
Yeah.
Now, if I need to go for the research, so in social science is a very wide field. So let's say if I'm from social science from management, the person could have the specialization either in terms of marketing, finance, or HRM, right? But
Yeah.
whatever the scenario is happening into the market is not only demanding the knowledge of marketing, finance, and HR. In addition to that, every academicians now must have to go on through the research knowledge, right? That is a fact.
Yeah.
But if I need to portray those ideas in terms of the farmer perception and the farmers viewpoints on the particular schemes that has been provided by the government, is it workable for them? Are they getting the benefit of that? Are they get avail those benefits? Are they aware about such kind of benefits? If I need to do this kind of research, so by telling those concepts, it looks very simple and easy, but when it comes to the practicality, right? So what they have asked from us, right? You should have one person who is belonging to the farmer's background. Are you getting it?
Yeah.
Are we taking care of these things? So
Generally
let's say
not.
if you're doing some funding research project, out of 4 people that you have it, one person must be from farmer's background, correct?
Yeah.
You are talking about government success policies for the farmers. So one person needs to be advocate in terms of having this knowledge about this policy, and he must be having the knowledge of some economics policy which is prevailed by the government. Do we have that? So where we are fighting for the project grant is we are just from the management, and I know research work, or previously madam was having that argument, if I don't have research work. So this is the bare minimum criteria that they are asking. And I know that sometimes we are good researcher, but we are not getting platform because there are certain criteria. Because fortunately or unfortunately, we are, we are in, we are largely populated country, wherein, to identify and to understand each and every person on a qualitative basis is always difficult. And that's why the agency needs to put some criteria in terms of filtering process. So this is the bare minimum criteria, that you have to have some research background. That is first one, because if you are handing over the research fundings, so you must be good at least in terms of research. I'm not talking about the domain area. Now I'm coming to the domain area. How much you will approach to the farmer, because if you are meeting for the first time, you will just ask the basic questions: where you are from, what you are doing, how's the farmer, what is your profit, and on so on. But the person who is belonging to the farmer's background, they might have some technicalities which can go in depth of the problem and prospects of the schemes, you know so they might be useful. That is where this agency is looking for. Because when we are meeting any person on the topic which we are doing it, and we are asking some questions, like we are meeting for the first time, so organization and this kind of funding agencies who is working for the farmers fundings, like I had applied for the ICSSR. So ICSSR people already know that, what is this scheme all about, how the farmers are getting it. So that is not their lookout. They want to go more than that. And that is where you need to have some expert team wherein you can justify your ideas and content. However, I left this opportunity, even having this kind of one farmer and one advocate in my team. Still, my idea got rejected. Although I have my research background, but still my idea got rejected. So might be I missed out something, right? And they have given 4 arguments to us, that your research project needs to revise in this. But almost they also said that they have also given us the commitment. We might be think about your project, because it was up to the mark. But still, out of the 5 to 6 projects that they have, finally decided, and out of that, they might find more prospect in, other 2 projects apart from what our project was. So finally, we got rejected in the last round. But we reached at 2 rounds, right? We have cleared 2 rounds, and I was rejected in third round. But it's okay. I will apply for another agency, and I'll try my level best to meet out these expectations. So I can't say that I'm good in research. I have my ideas to be good, and I have better prospect to do the research. And that's why my idea got rejected and I got demotivated. I understand, human perspective, but there are so many other things apart from what we are thinking that funding agencies are thinking about.
Okay. So,
Sometimes it could be biased. I'm not denying it. But there is no way out to in our hands, right? Because we are not an evaluator. We are just a decision receivers. So
okay.
that is where we have to accept what exactly the reality is.
Sir, do we find the same kind of attitude in the private agencies? Because the government agencies, we always find that minor projects can be granted to people from humanities and social sciences background, but when it comes to projects orienting science and other allied fields, they are given to only people from these areas. I mean, am
Minor
I?
project is like, sir, just now before 2 years, UGC has given 1 crore grant to every state university.
Yeah.
So wherein state universities was free to provide the fundings. But
Okay.
although the allocation was happening at these directions or not, that is a question mark, right? So government people have a great chances to get the minor research project funding from their own agencies, own state universities, wherein they are working, right? But how much aggressively and things has been executed, I don't know. But minor project is always better to get, and it's easy to get it because you don't have to go to external agencies. Even you can get it from your own universities also.
Okay, sir, in this kind of interaction, would you provide us list of private funders also? Or because, sir, we know government funders, but when it comes to private funding agencies, then we don't have list, or we don't know actually how to approach and which area or
I
which
will share. I will
university.
share after this
Okay,
session. I have it
okay,
in my another way,
okay.
right?
And
I will definitely share.
sir, I would also urge you to practically tell us as to how we can pitch our proposal when we are largely from social sciences and humanities background, sir.
That will be a criteria of tomorrow,
Okay,
right?
yes, sir.
Okay. So quickly, we will sum up because we
Yeah,
have already,
thank you, sir.
stressed the time. But yeah, good questions. Yes. So creating proposal to structure is executive summary and statement of needs. That is where, the problem and prospects of the topics that we are going to decide, right? And that is where we can urge the importance to the stakeholders. and that is where we can create the societal importance. Executive summary means, moreover, it is a kind of what actually the technicality is and how this technicality is going to helpful in terms of objectives, methodology, and key benefits out of this research projects. Project descriptions. So, we have to define the timelines and expected outcomes that out of these projects that any agencies, if they are going to fund, so they are getting benefited with this sort of outcomes. Style of writing. So obviously nothing too much discuss because we have discussed so many things out of these questions. So clarity and conciseness. So obviously you have to have simple and direct language to ensure that your proposal is easy to understand. And it has been said in research also that you should not use too much jargons and technicalities, but your proposal should be very easy and concisely, right? And being concise is always helps, to maintain the reader's focus on key elements without unnecessary details, right? Where readers will not lose his intention, lose his focus by not having understood any of the technical terminology, right? So we should not disturb the readers, wherein we have always to motivate readers to try and understand the key elements of the particular proposal rather than go and understanding the findings of the meaning of the any jargons. Persuasiveness, right? Such as you should always have comparing the arguments and emotional appeals. Encourage the audience to support the proposal by highlighting benefits and addressing potential objections. Clear? Budgeting and success. So budget is always having long-term budgets, long-term expenses, short-term expenses. There are few expenses which is in direct and indirect expenses, right? So those expenses needs to be clearly bifurcated, and we have to justify the budgets, in terms of where to get the fundings, and if we are getting fundings, how we are going to execute those fundings in terms of achieving the goals of the project. And ultimately, we'll try to ensure the likelihood of the successful outcomes out of these proposals. Financial management. So once you get the proposal in terms of funding, you have to track the expenses for entire activity that we are committing, right? And we must need to ensure that all the activities that we are doing it, that should be in the limits of budget, and that where you can use some financial softwares to make this kind of reports, right? And that is where at the end of every interval of time, like 6 months or something, you must have to provide those reports to the funding agencies. And that is where we must need to try to ensure the transparency, accountability towards the funding agencies, and informed decision making throughout the project execution. Submission and follow-up, right? That is where peer review process. So once you submit it, your proposal will go into peer review, right? Wherein you will be asked to improve your accuracy. Sometimes you will be asked to change your problem objectives, and through which they perceive that they are trying to make the quality of work in a better prospect before going for final submissions. And what common mistakes we need to avoid? We must need to adhere to the submission guidelines of the funding agencies. That is the first and foremost thing that we have to do. We can't commit any sort of mistakes out of this, and we must need to enhance that document's professionalism and effectiveness as a part of successful proposal. You must have to have engaged with the funders. After submission, you must have to check in your software or the portal wherein you have submitted, and you must have to show your gratitude, and provide additional information if at all is if had been asked by the funders, and through which we can always try to maintain the long-term relationship. That is what I told you. Even they are not agreeing, so you must have to agree at the initial level by their own ideas, and then once you get into the uh, you must get into the picture, and once you are into the picture of fundings, you must need to try and understand the other part of the window. And that is where the funders will also try to understand, and they might be convinced and might be allow you to go and execute the idea in a manner that you thought, if it is going to be, and it might be convinced their mindset. So these are the funding agencies which I was talking about, and sir has asked, but apart from that, if you need some other private funding agencies, then I'll definitely provide those list. Yeah, fine enough.
Thank you,
So
sir.
depending
Yeah.
upon every domain's areas, so these are the different funding agencies wherein you can always apply for the fundings. So that's it for today. Thank you so much. Still, if any other questions, I would like to answer. It was great
Yeah.
session in terms of interaction.
So I have two questions. First is the tool for you were saying that we can use some tool for budgeting. So do you have any recommendation about the tool for budgeting first? Second, can you recommend any tool for systematic review?
Systematic literature review, you can always go for Mendeley, Zotero, right?
Okay, and for
And
budgeting?
right. And for budgeting, if you can apply for Tally because it is very cheapest software. Sometimes the free versions are also available for few time period. So you can always go for Tally, wherein you can always apply for the budgeting part. You can maintain it, or if you don't want to go into any of this stuff, you can simply make an Excel and wherein you can have a budget, right?
Okay, thank you. Could you
Right.
please share that PPT also with us?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. Any other questions?
Are there any more questions or doubts? Anyone?
I think there was a lot of doubt during the session, and yeah, but it was good session. I thoroughly enjoyed. Good. So who was asking that question? Who was that lady? Nice questions.
It was me. Thanks.
Okay, great. Because I cannot see the screen, no? Good questions.
So just for your knowledge, I'm Ganga Mishra, so PhD
Right.
candidate. Yeah,
Okay. From where you are doing PhD, madam?
I'm doing it from AIMS Rishikesh.
Where it is?
AIMS Rishikesh, All India
Oh,
Medical Rishikesh.
okay, great, great. Yeah. So any other questions?
No, good for now. Thank you so much. You really will address all of those.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And it is always good to, to receive those kind of comments from the field, which is itself is a, very commendable and very respectable field, which is called, medical. Thank you so much being a part of this FDP and, for your appreciation also.
Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Right?
Uh,
Yes, sir.
so actually, I just want to share one thing that for tomorrow's session, it would be better along with the PPT that you are presenting. Would you please share some of your experiences of getting rejected, then you corrected, or you make corrections over there, and then you got acceptance later on. So these kind of practical sort of experiences of yours would be
I think what
something
madam
near
has
to this
asked,
dimension,
what,
sir.
what madam has asked the question, So I had told my incident only, right? That what was happened. But again, if you need, I'll try to explain in a more detailed manner because I have already shared my experience that what exactly how to frame a team, what criteria that we need to see to it, what is their expectations in terms of different areas, and how to fulfill. Again, I'm not saying that every agency has the same manner, but you must have to check out their past history and then you will get to know.
So how should we check the
But
past
again, we
history,
will
sir?
discuss tomorrow, nothing to worry.
Oh, fine.
Today we are go too late. So thank you so much, all of you, for your patient listening and nice interactions during this session. I hope the session was up to the mark and fulfill your expectations. And I wish you all will apply for the grant project and successfully you will get clear. Hope you all of you and hope for the best. Thank you so much. Uh, Thank you, Research Foundation of India, Ajay sir, Saurabh sir, and Asmi madam for coordinating today's event. Thank you so much. Over to you, madam.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a really interactive and amazing session. I would also like to thank all the participants for their active participation. Thank you everyone for joining us. Let's meet again tomorrow. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, madam. Yeah.